Welcome in another PR podcast. Here we got a good friend of mine, JJ Robinson. JJ, former college All-American, former pro. And me and him, we go way, way back, like into Little League baseball, basketball stuff. But JJ, we appreciate you stopping by, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on this. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I want, just kind of tell us about your story. Growing up, obviously, both of us are really small town. Talk to about your story all the way, leading up to pro and also college. I know you had kind of an interesting journey, a little bit different than most folks.
Yeah. Okay. So, high school went to Colfax, real close to Colton there. Shoot, you and me we were battling since third grade, so it's been a lot
Yeah.
of fun. But started off at Colfax, ended up getting a scholarship to WSU, which it's great to go. I mean, small town kids, I would advise, you know, probably go to a JUCO, start small, then work big, you know. It was a goal to go D1, but it's not always necessary. You want to go where you're going to play, or
Yeah.
improve. Um,
Yeah.
and, I mean, you do the same thing, when we were in high school, uh, we try to face the best possible, right?
Yeah.
We go out, we don't stay on our little shells, our little towns. We were out,
Yeah.
going to the Tri Cities, anywhere in Washington, really, anywhere in Idaho, the close states that we could go to and just play the best.
Yep.
And that's how you get better. But uh, so I went from Colfax, went to Wazoo, did a year there. Kind of wasted a year, honestly. Should have redshirted, but I didn't. I was stubborn. And then after that, I decided to go to JUCO, and I went to Walla Walla. Had a great time there. Walla Walla was a learning experience. I had a great coach, David Milia. He really wrapped my head around the mental game of
Hmm.
baseball. Man, he
Hmm.
was he was a hell of a coach. He made it work, man. He was a former big league guy. He played with the Texas Rangers.
Hmm.
So he had all the experience, and he was great. But went there, had a good year there, had shoulder surgery there. Um,
Hmm.
Kind of set me back a little bit. Tore my labrum, bicep, and rotator cuff. So had
Same.
that all, yeah, put together like a damn robot. But that kind of shut down the pitching aspect of things, but still could swing it.
Yeah.
So um, the goal always was actually to go to LCSC, right? That was
Hmm.
always the goal. I love LCSC. When I was growing up, watching them play, I'm sure you went to the games of the World Series too, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, for
just
sure. Yeah, especially my dad
surreal.
being down there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just beautiful, man. I mean, Ed Chef, you got all that great stuff, and that was always because they work so hard too. That
Yeah.
was huge. Those guys, it's intense. It's like the Navy SEAL of baseball, and so I wanted to go there, and I was fortunate enough that Jeremiah Robbins, the coach there at the time, he came and watched me play, and he gave me a scholarship to go there, and then I have knee surgery my first year there, so. Um,
What'd you do to your knee? What'd you do to your knee?
I tore my meniscus.
Mm, yeah.
So I had the repair done, which takes a little bit longer instead of cutting it out. And so I missed the
Hmm.
2015 season. Um, ended up, and they ended up winning it, which is great. Those guys, that was a great team that year. They killed it, man. Seth Brown, who's playing with the A's right now, doing
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, he's
Um,
killing it for the A's right now. He's killing it.
yeah, man, he's a stud. He's a good dude, good human being too, man. He's great. Um, and then 2016, played that year, had a good year. That was my junior year. I would have been considered a redshirt junior that year. And
Yep.
the goal that year was to get drafted. After of course winning the World Series was number one goal. We wanted that ring again, and so um, we ended up winning. Everything went well, and then I didn't get a call for draft day that year, and which was junior year is kind of the year you can negotiate with the money, because you can come back to college and all that stuff,
Hmm.
and not getting a call uh, to get picked was like pretty big gut punch, especially for working all the time. I mean, anytime, like in high school, you go all the way back to high school. If you got time for video games, you got time to go hit a baseball. You go play
Yep.
catch. There was
Yep.
there was I didn't play no video games. I didn't hang out. I didn't have friends, to be honest. I was in my own world. We're just out
Yeah.
there. There's one goal.
Well, we knew when, yeah, whenever I played you, I mean, I would say, because I played you in high school, we played in the same team. We even did some, basketball stuff. I mean, we used to go at it. I don't know if I ever played you in football, um, but it was one of those things where, especially coming from smaller places, the focus had to be different. Because I was really the same way. Like, I honestly, and Colton people would tell me the same thing. I didn't hang out with my friends a lot.
Yeah.
I wasn't not doing things like I was, instead of working on the farm over the summer, what I was doing is working on my game. And for me, I think I wish I would have. If I could go back and talk to myself, I wish I could have put a little bit more focus on um, maybe football and baseball a little bit more specifically. I playing that third sport, basketball, I loved it, and I spent a ton of time with basketball and developing myself. But it took away time from sports that realistically, basketball is a little different. I always commend my brother on, especially going to University of Idaho, Division I from Colton, because the the structure of the Division I basketball player is a considerable difference. Even at NAIA basketball prospects, like the bodies and those dudes' athleticism, it's in the length of them is just different. It's something that I didn't have. I not even close. But yeah, I think the individual development, and we've talked about it too, is like the individual development now. I feel like a lot of the families in the prospects that reach out to me and ask questions, when I ask them, how much time are you really putting into their game? They're putting as much time or more time travel ball, playing extra games versus individual development. So when you were going through this, and obviously, look, travel ball has its place. And for someone like you had to go play in other places to play dudes who aren't throwing mid 70s. Like you want to see a dude who's touching 80s. But, what was the kind of split ratio on how much was J.J. Robinson hitting baseballs in his backyard versus playing travel team balls where you're getting 16 at bats for, maybe a 3-day tournament?
Oh yeah. I was definitely hitting, dude, buckets, buckets of balls, hundreds of
Every day.
that. Oh,
It's
every
it's
day,
every day.
every
Yeah.
single day.
And your swing showed it. And look, I'm not, and now it's really common for, because I've done the quarterback training stuff, playing professionally, myself with the quarterback training. Like, it's not enough to just go to a trainer nowadays. Everyone's got a trainer. Super crucial. I think it's what's changed both sports, baseball and football. And I know you went to one down in Walla Walla, I believe, correct, when you were younger.
Yes.
Did you go
Yep.
to like, and I'm sure it made a huge difference, but that is not what we are talking about. When I'm talking about individual development, I'm talking about individually, what work are you putting in? And I feel like that separates kids. It separates kids in small towns, but even in the bigger cities, I think in metropolitan areas, it separates kids as well. You can't go to your hitting coach twice a week and think, I'm going to be a good hitter. That's just not how it works, right? Would you
No.
agree?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, that guy. It was Kim Cox. I was going to into sales.
Yeah.
Great guy. Knew so much about hitting right, and I didn't know nothing. I was going there from 10 to 15, I believe, and I
Yeah.
saw him on and off after, but I had to. Whatever, he taught me the things, but if I didn't go home and work on them, I wasn't gonna get no better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like you said, you got to
Absolutely.
put in the work. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you could pay all that money to get all this advice from people, but if you don't take your time and do your do your work, it's homework, and do it, get it
Yeah.
done, man. You're just not gonna get any better.
No, I'm with you. Go ahead and talk to us. So when you come back your senior, you win a championship. You were a second team All American, I think, right? You were some form of All-American.
Yeah, something like
You
that.
were.
Yeah.
It's you
um,
were an all. Don't be humble on here, man. You were an All-American, okay, which
yeah.
is an impressive feat. So you come back your senior year. Tell us how that played out. Going into pro.
Yeah. The senior year. So after I didn't get that call, junior year, I was like, dang, man. Well, I guess the only goal now is I want another ring, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I'm just like, hey, if I get drafted, it'd be a blessing. But my senior year, man, I was going into that whole year thinking this is my last year of baseball. This is all I got left. So I'm 100% in with this, and I'm gonna make sure I have fun. I'm not gonna stress too much about it because I mean, we put too much pressure on ourselves. That's for damn sure. We just
Yeah,
overdo it. And
yeah.
I remember my junior year, I didn't have a whole lot of fun. I had a good year, but I mean, I didn't have a lot of fun. I didn't have fun at the World Series. I had a rough World Series, really, and it wasn't fun. So I was like, you know what? I'm winning is fun. Losing ain't fun. So, I don't
Losing's
care.
never fun.
Yeah, what anybody says, losing ain't fun. So I want to win, and I'm gonna have fun doing it. And that's what I did my senior year. We went in, we went to the World Series. We were down a little bit. I think we only ranked like 4 or 5, so not what we were usually ranked. And I was like, hey man, that's all right. We're gonna go into this and we're gonna win it. And we did. I ended up getting MVP of that World Series, and
Hmm.
then after the World Series, it was an odd draft because they waited. Usually the draft's like right after the World Series, but they waited 2 weeks.
Hmm.
I can't remember what for. Um, but I get a call from the Twins scout that he came to watch us hit and stuff a couple times, talked to him a little bit, but never. I never thought. I mean, I'm a guy I had 3 surgeries in
Yeah,
4 years, and I actually had my
yeah.
senior year. I had another surgery. Forgot about. I
Hmm.
had this on that same knee. That meniscus tore again, so I just said, "Hell with it. We're cutting it out so I can play." So,
Yeah.
um, did that. But I'm thinking, draft's coming up. I'm like, they don't want a guy who's 3 surgeries deep. I'm old for my class. Um,
Yeah.
I was actually the oldest guy drafted in 2017. It was pretty funny. I had a teammate
That
send
is
me that.
hilarious.
Yeah, send me that clip. He goes, "Hey, Grandpa, check this out." It's like, oh, thanks, bro. I appreciate that. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But so I get a call from the Twins guy, and he goes, "Hey, do you still want to play?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "You give me a plane ticket, I'll show up, and I'll play ball." And
Hmm.
next thing I know, I'm watching it on the TV, and my name pops up, and I go, "What the heck?" Like what's going on? And so then I get a call after. He called me before, just being like, "Hey, you still want to play?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to play." What kind of silly questions
But like
that?
he didn't give you any. Yeah. Yeah.
No, they didn't tell me nothing, bro. I was like, "What the
Yeah.
heck's going on?" Pops up because I was watching all my buddies go. I had Micah Brown went Micah Brown went that year. Seaver Whalen. We had 8 guys or something drafted on that team. It was
Yeah.
insane. And so I'm watching them all go, and then my name pops up, and I was like, "Holy cow!" 33rd round, I think it was, or something. But it is what it is. I would took a bag of chips, whatever it takes to get over there and play. But so I sent me over there to play, and I go to that summer ball, I guess, minor league summer ball, rookie ball,
Hmm.
and had a pretty good year actually. I got hit. My average is all right. I can't. I think 260 might have been around what I was hitting or something, but
Hmm.
had 11 dingers, 150 at bats or something. I can't remember, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you think about it every day, but I mean, stats. I never really kept track. I mean, home runs. You can kind of keep track of that. That's pretty easy to keep track of.
Yeah. And,
But
and honestly, too, I mean, to put it into perspective, I think a lot of times, for sure, you have your 1 percenter or your 5 percenter guys that are the top, 5 round guys, and some guys are just
yeah,
different, whether they're throwing high 90s or some dudes just have special hands and hips. But to come from a place of the size, because you were at Colfax, but realistically, You lived in Tico or Oakdale? I mean, that's where you grew up when you were young, right?
Yeah, Oakdale,
Which
yeah.
one? Oakdale. Okay. So the the likelihood of anyone coming from a town that small to go play professionally anywhere is basically it's astronomically low, right? So I think that has a lot to do with probably your work ethic and how you approach things. When you were talking earlier about you committed to Washington State, so nowadays I don't know if you know, but the Division I rule is they can't come in contact with prospects till August 1st of their junior year. And so, yeah, so
Oh,
it's changed. Back when you were, they were offering, seventh, eighth graders, ninth graders, and you'd have to verbally commit or else that offer wouldn't be there. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I even feel like Idaho did that for my brother Jake. They strong armed him and got him to commit probably earlier. Who'd had 5 or 6 more small Division Is come in and offer. Is that what
yeah.
they did with you, Washington State? Did they strong arm you and say, "Hey, look, you got to commit or else it's not going to be here"?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was I
Yeah.
kind of let my dad kind of roll with that kind of stuff, but no,
Well,
yeah,
you're a
I
kid.
verbally
I mean, you're a
committed.
kid. I mean, you're a kid. There's a lot of things that can go wrong too. So tell me this: how much? Because I had to go a long ways away to a Division II program before I transferred up to Division I.
Hmm.
Um, how important for you is fit over the name on the jersey? If you had to run it back, how important is that? The fit of the program for you and the fit versus just chasing the biggest offer out there that you have.
Oh, that extremely important. Yeah, that's very important. The
Yeah.
locate, like
I mean,
that.
eight guys drafted from an NAIA program. I mean, people don't even understand that. They don't get it, right? They don't get it.
Yeah,
They're like
no,
NAIA. I mean, there was 8 guys drafted in your room. One's, making the big boy bucks in the show.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, no, and that's
Yeah.
why I had my eyes set on LC the whole time because I knew like that's where I wanted to go. That was a hard. I wanted to go somewhere where it was hard, where it's difficult to
Yeah.
get on the team. I didn't just want
Yeah.
to play; I wanted to earn my spot. And the mentality that everybody had there was just like that. There was nothing was given to you. Even after my junior year, Coach Robbins was like, "Starting over now. You're starting over now." I don't remember anything he did last year. Yeah, he.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
don't. I was an All American, all that crap. That didn't mean nothing. He was like, "You're a senior now. You got to earn your spot again." It was. I sat at the beginning, man. He was testing us. He was like, "I'm gonna test these guys," and that's what you want, man. You don't want stuff handed to you. Otherwise, it's easy. Everybody do it. So,
Yep. Yeah,
no,
there's a lot of
you know.
sacrifice involved for sure. There's a lot of sacrifice involved, and
Yeah.
and those I mean those cultures matter too. I think culture matters as well. I think for me when I was coming out, my focus was I just want to get on the field or get a chance to compete early.
Hmm.
Um, and my obviously a little different situations. You went Division I, then JUCO route. A lot of kids are just wanting to go JUCO, and I think that's smart. I still think it's really important um, to develop like 4-year relationships, even if you're going JUCO, because nowadays it's just such a business and such a marketing
Yeah.
type of thing that if you're not building relationships with LCSC before you go to Walla Walla, for sure they're local, but every other NAI school is not local, and so I think it's important to do that when we're talking as far as how you separated yourself, as a high school prospect, right? I mean, you were hitting you know, essentially thousands of balls, maybe a month, maybe a week. Um, when you got to college and you are an All American now, and you also had probably other All Americans on your team, and even at Wazoo, I'm sure you play with really good guys at Wazoo and Walla Walla. What separated the top 5-10% on the rosters that you played at? What was the separation between them and the rest of the guys?
The separation was the work ethic. The work ethic.
Yeah,
Yep. 100%. You could tell the guys that would come hit with me um, on the weekends or stay after practice. Those are the guys. That was the top 5% of the team that you knew. I mean, those guys are the ones that got drafted too. So it just made sense.
yeah,
So
yeah. I feel like for me too, there were guys, I kind of classified them as two different spots, and I try to educate people, especially prospects. There were a lot of guys that were happy that they made it to college, and there were a lot of guys who were on to the next thing and trying to continue to move on. And
Hmm.
obviously, work ethic was a big part of that. But yeah, man, when it came to your injury stuff, so you pitched first, correct? So you were a pitcher. Like, how did that affect the labrum, the rotator cuff, and the bicep tear? How did that affect, throwing moving forward? And how did you
Uh,
adapt?
it that was pretty brutal. I always pitching was kind of like my second. I could hit, and so pitching was like my second. And what what really like led to it was when I went to WSU. I was a so we were both shortstops probably right in high school. That's usually
Yeah,
where you put the
yeah,
most athletic kids and stuff is at shortstop. Well, WSU was like, and it was about that time where like Buster Posey came in, real tall, athletic catcher, right? They didn't want
yeah.
the Pudge Rodriguez's, the short, stocky guys anymore. They wanted some athletic guy behind the plate. So WSU moves me to catcher, and it was all great. I never caught before. I was like, sure, yeah, why not? Let's try it. and and stuff. And honestly, that led to a lot of problems. My knee, my shoulder, and I should have just stayed in the infield. I went to the outfield, but once I blew up my shoulder, I went straight to first base, where you don't throw as much as possible, because
Yeah.
it was never the same again. And you know,
What did the doc say? Was it overuse or was it? I mean, because again, for me, I had Drew Brees' surgeon and Tua Tagovailoa's surgeon do my shoulder, so he had seen a lot of different injuries from pros, and he said most guys who are throwers, period, whether they overdo it or not, they're going to have some form of tear. Did you take care of your arm as much as you wish you would have growing up?
nope. No,
Yeah.
no, I did not. Yeah, and that's what I think that's what did it. It was the summer I went to Texas. I remember exactly when I blew it up. The summer after WSU, I was WSU sends their guys to summer ball, and I had to go to this Texas league because I signed a contract beginning of the year, and so
Hmm.
I go there. And I'm feeling good. I'm starting to gain weight. I'm coming into my body really. I was a late maturing kid and stuff. And I tell the Texas coach, I'm like, hey, I could pitch. I could pitch. And so he's like, okay. And so I throw one game and it did all right. And then the next day he has me playing outfield. Well, I get a ball in the outfield and I'm gonna go throw to third base. And at one hop, throw it, and then just pop, pop. My shoulder just
Mm-hmm.
got on fire. And I was like, oh crap. I was like,
Hmm.
that wasn't right. That never happened before. And so I let it ride. It didn't really hurt too bad because, growing up, we learned pretty quick. There's a difference between an injury and an owie, you know,
Yep.
and you don't want to be the pansy that's just got an owie and sit out, it's
Hmm.
hard. And sometimes it's hard to tell, really. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know. And I didn't know I
And
had an
different
injury.
times too. Coaches would push you too. I mean, I remember.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I remember throwing like 21 innings consecutively, Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday in a little league thing. Man,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
didn't care. They wanted that trophy at the end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they just brutalize you. And that's where you lose the difference between an injury and an owie, right? Like you throw that much, you're hurting. That they ain't no
Oh,
owie.
totally.
Something's
Yeah.
wrong and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Totally.
you know, so I don't know. I didn't know the difference between it, and that was probably just my labrum that I tore when I popped it, right? Because it wasn't that bad. And then I kept throwing. I kept throwing. I go to Walla Walla. I did that in July. I go to Walla Walla in August, and I'm pitching still. I'm throwing off the bump, trying to get it to work, and it just keeps hurting, gets worse and worse. And then I finally told my old man, and I was like, hey, we got to get this looked at. Something not right. I can't. Ice won't help. Nothing's working. And so we get the MRI, and then that's when they tell us the bad news, and I was like, holy cow, I didn't know it was like that. But um, the doc, he was I got it in Walla Walla, and I remember that he was a Minnesota Vikings, or used to work with the Minnesota Vikings, and
Mm.
good guy. But the first thing he said to me was, he goes, "You'll never throw the same again." I was like, "Oh." I took it as a challenge. I was like, well, watch this,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll prove you wrong. Well, uh, he was right.
yeah,
It just didn't work. So I tried, and it's just over time. Like now, I threw a little bit, and I was like, it ain't bad. I can still throw. I'll be able to play catch with my kids, so that's all that matters now. But um,
yeah,
yeah, man, it's just the difference between knowing when you have an injury. I think is huge. It's very important, and
yeah.
to take it aside, just be like, hey, this ain't right. I can't do this. I'm not going to risk my life or my future in this sport for one moment. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
just
that's fair. I think,
you
yeah, I
know,
think you hit it on the, I do. Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I think too, like, again, that goes back to, you know, playing 88 games over the summer is not net.
yeah,
You can cut it in half and you can work on that individual development and that individual grind. I mean, last thing, and, then I'll let you go. And again, we appreciate you stopping by, but letting young prospects know, like, look, you get to college because I know you personally and I know how serious you took it, and you're a two-time national champion winner, probably three-time. You were on the team for three. Um, Talk to them about what the regimen is like. A lot of prospects I hear, well, I don't know if I want to go far away from home because I want to be able to come home. I know for me in college, like I wasn't coming home. Like it was, and I lived a long ways from the house. You necessarily didn't, but if you're really committed to being the best version of yourself in that sport and also student in the classroom, like talk to us about what your routine and schedule was like on a Monday through Friday basis in the off season. Let's just say, and to be clear, you're an NAIA baseball player. Yeah, it's the best NAIA program in the history of NAIA for sure. But some people think, well, if I go lower levels, it's going to be a little bit less serious. Talk to them about kind of your regimen and what your schedule was on a day-to-day basis.
yeah. So in the off season or in season, obviously you're super busy. You got school, all that crap going on. Off season, now that like you said, that's where you really work and stuff. And I didn't come home.
Yep.
I was like, no, I'm staying here. I'm
You
not
live
going anywhere.
how many miles away from your hometown? Like what, 30, 40?
Yeah, probably. I think it was like about 45 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and I mean, it would have been easy. It'd been easy to go home, work on the farm, get a good summer job that pays real good and make some money and all this crap. And I was like, no, I want to win. I want to get drafted. I want to win another ring. So I stayed in Lewiston, got paid, and got a job. Of course, our dads. You got to get if you're gonna stay there, you got to get a job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, kind of fine. But he didn't say how much I had to get paid. So I got a job at a country club, got paid $7.50 an hour, mowing their lawns. It's
Yep.
Idaho, right? So the minimum
Yeah.
wage was 7.50, and so
Yep.
I mowing lawns, mowing the greens, working all day long in the heat. 8-hour days, 40-hour weeks. Just a regular, just kind of beat you up kind of job. And then after that, I go straight to the gym. I work out, and then after that, you go to the cages, you hit balls, you play catch, you work on fielding, everything. And that was my summer. That's what you did
Yeah.
to become better for the next season. That was every single day. I mean, summer, is only like a couple months, so you don't take days off in the summer.
Yeah.
But
The mindset is one of those things where, I know this was for me. I didn't, I would come home for 3 weeks, in the summer and then obviously, Christmas break.
mhm,
Um, but after that, the mindset, is flipped. At least it was for me. And the dudes that I know that went and played, again, pro or just really successful in college, was the off season is a chance for you to develop your game. I think it should be the same for high school and even middle school prospects if you're serious. Like it's not that again, going and getting 16 at bats and traveling the country and just playing a bunch of games. I think you can do it, but I think most importantly, you learn some stuff about yourself when you're just in there by yourself working, and
mhm,
uh, at least with 90% of the guys that I know that were really, really good in college and then went and played pro, their work was different. I know that just sounds really cliche, but their focus and their intention and their work was just different. It wasn't like, oh, I mean, how many times could you have went and gone on a boat in the Snake River and just chilled for that evening? I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
we all want to do that. It's that discipline and that work ethic, though, really. And it's not something that you can just snap on. I know for you specifically, you were busting your butt in high school, middle school, trying to reach that goal. But I really appreciate you, man, coming on. Thanks for, just giving your insight, and we appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you.